What up? Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
First
everybody.
ever morning live. Let's go.
I'm still trying to wake up. Sorry. For real, I'm pretty tired. But Levi, go ahead. Updates.
We'll get some quick updates going real quick. So for anybody that didn't tune in last night, good morning. Hope y'all got your coffee going. US ARC update. We got Vanessa over at the pet shop taking over as administrative director. Congratulations to her. All the work that she does for US ARC is incredible. All the work that she does for the hobby. When you talk about somebody you could idolize as being a phenomenal person for the hobby, you think Vanessa. She does a great job at representing us, US ARC, the hobby overall. If you get a chance to, just pop into your local expos, tell her thank you when she's there. My Arizona peeps, just make sure you pop into the store, tell her what's up. The updates are still the same. We got Washington, Connecticut, New Mexico. The Washington and New Mexico bills are basically travel and display bans. Make sure you look into it. Connecticut's a mammal ban. We don't deal with mammals very often, but for those that do, we're there to support them. We're there to support the hobby and, the overall animal hobby and industry as a whole. One team, one fight. We don't segregate from any other animal. So let's make sure we're all staying together, teaming up, and government's out for everything. There's nothing off limits for these guys. Quick shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to CMB Reptile, one of my local shops. Selective captive bred, sailed animals. They got the finest of the fine going on over there. We got Reptile Crew, got the most badass fire merch in the game. Make sure you check our boys out. Give both of our sponsors a follow on Instagram. CMB sells these shirts. If you would like to get one, help represent. And then Reptile Crew has a new shirt dropped. They're going to be doing a giveaway here pretty soon. Make sure you tune into their Instagram. Pop onto my Instagram. It's FTL Reptiles on Instagram. My link tree is in my description. Click it. Go check it out.
And don't forget to check my link tree. He does have a shirt in my link tree. He does have a shirt in there. It's FTL's Reptile shirt. He does have a shirt. Anybody want to go get one, go grab it. Represent my brother.
Make sure you check out the Flex store. Hashtag fuck Walmart.
Other than that, we're ready to go.
Let's drop it. Let's go. Hope you're all ready.
We're going to bring the guest on. Here we go, guys. And enjoying the show. Watch the ride.
You're definitely not a morning person.
Bro, I'm definitely not. But I think that's going to be my new thing. I like it.
Thanks for tapping in. Sexin and Flexin on YouTube. Go give them a follow right now. Go subscribe to their YouTube channel. I had an amazing podcast with them. It was an awesome time. Don't sleep on those guys, please.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sexin and Flexin Live Sunday. We got my co-host Levi and we got Chad from Golden Coastal or Coast. I can't even say it.
Golden
Golden
Coast
Coast
Exotics.
Golden Coast Exotic. Sorry, guys. I'm not a morning person.
I know we're gonna have to whoop you in the ass over there.
For real.
Yeah. Boy has not enough coffee.
I'm still waking up, guys. Go ahead, Levi.
That's a big mug there. Suck that thing down, okay?
Oh man, welcome to
Sorry,
the
Chad.
crew, man.
Sorry.
That's awesome. So what's up, Chad? How are you living down there in California, bro?
Life is good. Life is very good. I cannot complain about any aspect of it at all. And yeah, man, just living, doing the animals, and working, hanging out with kids, and just living life. That's about what's happening over here.
Right on, man. Sounds
Waiting
good.
for spring. Do some herping too. Throw that in the mix.
Absolutely, man. I think we're all counting down the minutes to that.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the herping, but what do you work with down there, man? Because I know me and you met at the expo, and I saw some pretty badass animals sitting on that table. Let's talk about it, man. There was one in the intro.
Yeah, I've got a lot of different projects going. We have a lot of colubrids. I mean, I can kind of go down the list from, I guess, my favorite to to ones I just keep for nostalgia purposes. We got everything from like cow kings. I have a good group of just basic cow kings, super basic cow kings, black and whites, and they were like my first animal that I produced consistently as a kid. I've been herping for those things forever. I find a ton of them even around the house here. So they're just kind of a species that's always held near and dear to me. So I keep a group of them here that we produce every year. And then all the way kind of going up, I got Mexican blacks and some Sinaloan milks, some of those splotched ones and albinos. And my Trans-Pecos rats are another one that I'm really excited to keep. If I could probably only have one colubrid, or maybe if I could only have 3 or 4, they would definitely be in there. I really like the Trans-Pecos rack, so I have some xanthics and blondes and some locality normal phase on the subox, and then we've got some Japanese forest rats as well. Got a good group of those that I'm happy to have. Sad the reason I have them, my buddy Scott Pally from Pally Reptiles passed away last year unexpectedly, and so these were his group that he had worked with for many years. So I ended up taking on that group from his widow Nicole, and we produced quite a few of those this year, so that was really cool. And on colubrids, we got some indigos too. I have a couple eastern indigos, and those are another nostalgic species for me, just because I worked with them pretty extensively, like in his early teen. You guys probably don't remember. This was like in the early 90s, but a guy named Chuck Elliott, the San Juan Snake Man was his official name. But anyway, that's where I lived at the time and still live today, San Juan Capistrano. He was the first one to really focus on Drymarchon, and he produced all 6 subspecies at that time. This was in the early 90s. So he had Easterns in Texas and Rubidus and Junit colors and yellowtails, blacktails, all those subspecies of Drymarchon. So as a kid, I would like go over to his house on the weekends, scrub snake poop, just be around snakes. That was just my passion from such a young age. So I got really lucky that he happened to live in the same town as I did. He kept a lot of different animals. He focused mostly on Drymarchon, but he had agamas and locality mountain kings and rosy boas, and he had all sorts of cool stuff. So that allowed me to elevate my game as a young kid, because I came in and kind of had somebody as a good mentor for me to really be like, wow, this is really cool. Because before that, it was like, oh man, I just caught a gopher snake and a rattlesnake, and I got 3 of them in my closet. And then I started working for Chuck, and it was like, wow, this is real. And then I started going to shows with him, and so anyway, long story short, I still keep a couple of Eastern indigos just for that reason only. It's a species that's important to me. So, and then onto the boas, we got Dumeral's boas, which I really enjoy. I feel good about selling the babies to someone who's kind of new to the hobby. some of the other stuff, like our Dominican Reds, the babies are a little tricky at times, getting them to feed consistently. So for someone really new to the hobby, if they come to me at a show, for example, and they're like, well, I really want a boa that's not just or I want a snake rather, that is not just a boa constrictor, and it's not just a ball python. They want something a little left of center, but something that I feel good about selling to people would be, a Dumeral's boa, because they're just pretty much bulletproof eaters most of the time. They get big enough to be interesting, but not so big that they're going to kick you out of your room. And they're beautiful, easy to handle. So I like our group of Dumeral's boas. And then we got the Sanzinia too, which are, top of the heap for me anyway. That's, if I can only keep one, it would be the Sanzinia for sure. So there's probably a few other ones in there too. Oh, a lot of Colombian rainbow boas. I got a lot of Colombian rainbow boas too.
Ooh, yes.
Mostly the blue-eyed Lucies. I got some black-eyed Lucies and a few heterochromic ones too, with one black eye, one blue eye. They're pretty cool. And that's another one that I actually feel good about. I see your face. We'll come back to that. But the Colombian rainbows are another one I feel good about selling to people. I know that animal is going to thrive, and if they just give it the basic requirements, they'll be able to have a really cool snake that, again, is going to get big enough to be interesting, but not so big to kick you out of the house. So I feel good about Colombian rainbow boas as far as selling them to someone who wants a pet snake. And then tricolor hogs too. We got a lot of tricolor hogs, which are really cool.
Wait, you said tricolor hogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some badass tricolors.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Bro, I'm like loving this guy right now, man. Yeah, Colombian boas, and then tricolor hogs. Coming to you, man. I'm coming to you, Chad.
Anytime, come on over. Come on over.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack there, right? Let's go backwards to Drymachen, man. Like, that's what an incredible snake to bring up. You're talking like, as far as like the king of colubrids go, like I'd be willing to argue with anybody that is that, and I would say the Chinese king rat. I mean, those two are just two of the most sought after colubrids in the world. They're incredibly large. They're incredibly intelligent. Beautiful, beautiful animals. And you got to get your hands on in the 90s. What a time.
Yeah. I had that giant book, which I still have, and some of the older people watching this might remember. It's called the Atlas of Reptiles and Amphibians. It was like a red book about this thick. My dad bought it for me when I was like 10 or whatever at a reptile store, and it was $100. And I remember like, wow, this is like the most expensive book. And I just flipped through the pages of that thing constantly. And there's a cool picture of someone holding an Eastern indigo like this, and it's just jet black, perfect in his hands. I'm like, wow, that's the most incredible snake ever. And then it was only like a year and a half later or whatever, I called up Chuck out of an ad in the Recycler, which was like an old Craigslist. It was a paper that came out. I don't think they have it anymore. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it was like snake for sale or whatever. And I called this guy up and I'm like, hey, do you sell snakes? And he's like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, and you're in San Juan? I'm like, I'm in San Juan. So he actually invited a buddy of mine, and I had to come over, and his mom drove us over there, and he had this, 2 rooms in his garage just full of snakes, and we were just in heaven. So it was pretty crazy how that worked out, because it was really one snake that stood out to me in that book. And then I walked into this guy's house, which was like 2 miles from my own, and he's got it all. And it was like the stars aligned, man, and it just brought me to the next level of herping, or just the culture in general, like very quickly at a young age. So I'm very thankful for that early on exposure to that species, and just good keeping in general, because he was a meticulous keeper. And I remember, to this day, I'm still friends with Chuck, by the way, but he doesn't work with animals anymore. Attention to detail is what he would always say. Attention to detail, because I would forget to shut a cage or just, like miss a piece of poop or whatever. He'd say, attention to detail, attention to detail. And I like still say that to my kids these days when they're helping me like clean the mouse house or something. Like, attention to detail, man. Don't forget to push that lid in all the way. So anyway.
Yep, absolutely.
I would love to get into some more. I love those Guero rubidus too. They're really cool looking and beautiful. So I may get another species of Drymarchon under my belt at some point soon. But they take a lot of room. They take a lot of time, relatively speaking. I have 4 kids, full-time job, so it's a lot of time, man. It's a lot of time management, just trying to make sure that everybody's well taken care of, and also taking care of the family. So,
Yes.
Yeah, agreed. Same. I
juggling
mean, I
there.
don't have 4 kids. I have 2, but I had dogs, kids, cat. Well, not 8. My mom has a cat. I don't like it. My wife has a rabbit.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
I
we
could
got
think
rabbits.
of something.
We got rabbits and chickens and 3 dogs and frogs and lizards and iguanas, and we have all sorts. It's a farm over here.
That's awesome. I have 4
Yeah.
kids, and I know what you mean too. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot.
they're getting older though now, so I had to really take a huge step back when they were young. But now my oldest is 16, and he's either doing his own thing and or helping me a little bit with the animals. He'll help me at shows and stuff like that. So it's better when they get older. It's different. It's not easier necessarily, but it's definitely different. A little less time consuming. I can do a lot of my own stuff now. So
Uh-oh.
getting back into it more.
That's awesome. My son's 9, about to be 9. No, just turned 9. Fuck. Oh, he's gonna shoot me. I can't remember my own age.
Yeah, dude. Tell me about it. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. People ask me how old I am, and I got to think about like, okay, what year is it? And I know I was born in
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
Ask me how old a snake is. I don't remember either.
I
That
better have it written on a card. I'll tell you what, because a lot of my babies are producing babies, and babies of babies. Yeah, I got to keep meticulous note keeping on everything because I can't remember on my own.
I'm just gonna carry flashcards around from now on. This is how old I am. This is how old the kids are. This is how old my wife is. Here's all the animals.
You got to have one of those wristbands, dude, that has like your birth date on it, and
It's like I've seen those.
if someone finds me and I'm lost, call this number and like your wife's number on there because she's got her shit together.
Oh man. So let's go backwards a little bit. So we covered the Drymarchon. Let's touch on the Sanzinas, right? This is like
Yeah.
or Sanzinias. Sorry, I always mispronounce that, man. It's like I used to pronounce colubrid colubrids, I believe is what it was. Or
Everybody knows what it is. No one's gonna hurt you. I get what you're saying, Sanzinia.
Yeah.
For the
My kids
longest
can't
time,
say
man.
Sanzinians. My kids say that same thing. But yeah, Sanzinia are the pinnacle for me, dude. I love them. I love keeping them. Chuck actually had a pair way back in the late 90s. That's where I first got exposed to them. I had in early 2000s, I had an extremely nice green male, and I had a adult male Mandarin phase. So well, let's just start quickly. There's Mandarin phase, which it was called Mandarin phase. It's now it's a species versus just a phase. There was green and there was Mandarin phase. Those were the 2 phases that were once recognized as one species, but 2 different phases. Now it's 2 different species. But long story short, I had a beautiful male green and I had a beautiful male Western, and I could not find any adults at all. And then I found an adult female green from Florida. This was in like 2003. I spent all the money I had because I had no money. It was like $800 or whatever. I'm like, okay, I can get this big female green. She's cool. Got her. Like 2 weeks later, she died. So I was stuck with these 2 adult males. I ended up selling those and kind of regretted it ever since. So fast forward about 15 years, I was able to get some more animals. Well, I'm not 15 years, I guess. 12 years or so. I was able to get some more animals. So now I only have Westerns, Sanzinia Valentini. But now that I've got them, I'm not selling them again. I got a good group going and a couple years of holdbacks that were growing up, and we brought in some different blood, as different as we can from different people working with them in the States. So we've got a really good group going. I hope over the next couple years, 2 or 3, 4 years, that we can really start hopefully producing some every year. because it seems like they only want to produce every other year or every third year even. But I'm hoping with the number of females that we're holding on to now that we'll be able to offer some every year. That's the hope. But they are an amazing species. The look of them is cool. They've got this huge offset head, and they kind of pivot their head a little bit and look around. They just seem to be more aware. Like an indigo a little bit. Some snakes are smarter than others. We'll just say it like that. I definitely feel like on the intelligence level, or at least awareness level, Sanzini are pretty up there. So for me, they're my favorite by far, and they're hard to get a hold of, and they look great too. So all those things.
Absolutely, man. I was telling you at the expo that day, man. I had a chance at one of our local shops to handle one for the first time ever, and they're just not just look wise, man, but like the feel of them. Like if you're anybody that owns BCIs, right? You know what a boa feels like, and anybody that owns a retic knows what a mainland feels like. I shit you not, a moderate size retic is like holding the. Damn it, how do you pronounce it? Sanzinia?
Sanzinia. You could just say Madagascar tree boa too.
Yeah, Madagascar tree boa.
All those words pretty good.
It's very similar because they're so heavy bodied. It catches you off guard.
Yeah.
How heavy bodied this boa is, and yeah, their intelligence level. It is like interacting with the retic, in my opinion. Working with the retics as much as I have, their consciousness is there. They're aware of what's going on. They're aware of you. And it's a blast. And they're so pretty.
Yeah, they are.
They just pop. I mean, at the expo, walking through, like, no, not shit talking anybody on this, but like your table was the table to stop at.
Oh, thank you, man. That's very
having not just the Madagascar tree boas, but like the Dominican reds, the Chinese rats that you had on display. It was incredible. But the pillar, and one thing I noticed constantly walking, doing laps, was everybody would stop and look at the Madagascar tree boa.
Yeah.
What is that? What, why is that there? What is it? It drew the attention.
Yeah. Similar to the Dominican reds in a way, like a lot of people don't even know that they're a thing. And same with the tricolor hogs in a way, like people look at the tricolor hogs and be like, oh, I didn't know the hognose came in that color morph. And then I just, briefly explain, this is a totally different species. This isn't a morph of a Western hog. They're like, oh, really? I didn't even know that. So that's what I kind of aim for, I guess, having stuff that's a little left of center. And for so many years, ball pythons just dominated every aspect of every show, that it's good to see now that I feel like when I walk around, I see a good variety of animals at most of the shows now. I mean, there's still a ton of ball pythons, which is okay, but yeah, people are starting to branch out a little bit. It's nice. There's so many other great, amazing species out there, and it's good to see that people are branching out a little bit. And I've tried to do that forever. I do have a few ball pythons that have been given to me, and we produce a few every year, but I've always tried to just have something that not everybody has, if I can get my hands on it. And then I've been lucky enough to be able to produce most of the stuff that I work with, so it's been good.
Respect. No, that's incredible, man. That's definitely where a lot of us, I believe, are starting to head as the entire hobby is working with some of the off-center animals and getting more awareness to all the other snakes that are out there. Because like you talk to someone like the heavy ball python breeders, right? They're super into the ball pythons, been in it for years. And, they come by tables, or they're talking to you individually, or they see a picture of someone on the podcast, like, whoa, what is that? And that's all it takes. And then from there, you hear a few months later, they're buying the species and they're working it. And it's such an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah. Ball pythons are there's a lot to be said about that whole market. So some good and not so good, but ball pythons are great pet snakes in general, and there's a ton of people working with a ton of them. But I mean, I think there's like 50,000 of them available right now on Farm Market. I looked the other day, so yeah, it's just a little bit of time for a reckoning on that market. I don't want to say anything bad about ball python guys, because I'm good friends with many of them, and they're great keepers, and there's some amazing looking ball pythons out there for sure, and they're great. They're great pets in general. I mean, when people come over to the house here and they want to hold a snake, oftentimes I'll be like, "Oh, here's one of our big ball pythons," and it's great. So there's nothing wrong with working with them. I just when I would go to a show and see nothing but ball pythons, I'd be disappointed. No matter how amazing that some of them looked, which they are definitely some amazing looking color morphs and paint jobs on them. But yeah, for me, I could do without seeing one for a while.
Respect. I mean, it's real quick. I want to answer Adler's question. Your next expo you're vending is out here in April, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then are you doing
Repticon? There's a chance I'll do Repticon here in February. That's going to be in Orange County, Costa Mesa. But I haven't gotten on the ball with that yet. Like I said, my boat's out of the water right now, and life's been a little crazy. But definitely April in Mesa. Yeah, the Phoenix Reptile Show. I'll definitely be there for that one. So
respect.
And then I may be at Anaheim. I think Anaheim's in June or July, right?
Yeah.
The Super Show. Yeah, I'll see what I have at that point. It's getting back to shipping time and stuff, and I have a few things posted online, and we don't produce a ton of animals here, so it's not like I can do every show with a good variety. And if I don't have a good variety to take, then I probably just won't do that Anaheim show. And that's kind of when work here is starting to get pretty busy. So I may or may not be at that Anaheim show, but I'll definitely be at Mesa.
Awesome. Oh yeah, Adler. I know you're in Cali, bro, but you should come out, dog. We should link up.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing these comments now. Cool. Sorry, man. I'm kind of mental on computers.
No, you're okay, man. You're okay. Trust me. I'm still getting used to everything again. Like we were talking about editing and putting stuff together. It's like, once you get the ball rolling, you're good. But like getting that ball rolling is one of the biggest pains in the ass I've ever dealt with.
Yeah. And then forgetting too, and you don't do it for a minute. You come back and it's like, whoa, I'll learn everything again.
Yes, sir.
What the hell? Why'd you move to Cali, bro? Sorry, off topic. Damn it.
What? You had brain fart?
Damn it. I didn't do it yesterday.
I know you didn't.
Now I'm right back on it. Damn it.
You want to talk about reptile shows?
We were talking prior to that about the Madagascar tree. The diversity in reptile keeping.
Sure.
And the different species we're starting to get into, and looking at the ball python market where it was at the expos. Speaking of that, real quick, the Mesa show that both me and you were at.
Yeah.
My first year going, it was ball python dominated. Like I had to go way out of my way. There was like one table that had a lot of diversity. Then it was like every 10th table, and as small as that expo was like there would be something different than a ball python. And now the one that we just did had the most diversity.
Yeah, that was a great show, dude. That Mesa show, this was the first time being there and first time vending there. Just when was that? In November, I guess. Yeah, dude, there was a lot of good stuff there for sure. For sure. I was there with just my wife, and my wife, like, God bless her heart, like she'll support me and go and do those things, but it's not her thing, right? So I didn't have anybody else even at the booth. So I'd like, okay, talking to people. Okay, I got a little break. I'd like run down an aisle, check this aisle out, come back, hang out. And then I'd like take a little break, run around trying to see, because I want to go look around too, see if there's something that I haven't seen before, or just, I enjoy going to shows just to look too. But it's when you're vending, you don't get to leave your booth, really. I mean, I think the bigger vendors and stuff, you have multiple people there, but for me, it's just kind of a one-man show, so I don't really get to leave my booth very often.
Respect, man. Hey, you know what? Let me know this go around, bro. I'll watch your table for you. You got no issue with it.
Right on. I appreciate that.
The Madagascar tree boa comes up missing, we'll just blame Chris.
I don't know where it is. That thing was fast. All of a sudden, it just zipped off.
I'm totally kidding.
I don't know. I probably won't have one to bring. I may bring one just to bring it, or possibly a bigger Dominican just to kind of show.
Oh, you definitely should. Let's talk about that for a minute, right? You do the expos. I would like to see that at our expo in specific. I'm not at enough of them to make a judgment on this, but I feel like display animals as adults and what they can be is something that should be brought to an expo, right? Like, shout out to Megan Kelly. She brought a decent sized anaconda to the show, and it really got to represent what the size of the animal is, what you're up against care wise, and it displayed like the beauty of the animal too. Because as a baby, they're cute, adorable, blah blah blah, whatever. But like from both sides of the spectrum, you get to see, okay, this is what I'm up against. This is how big this animal is going to get
Puts
at
it
some
in
point.
context a little bit.
And then you also get to see, like, damn, this animal is so pretty as an adult. This is what you have to work towards. You know what I mean? I just feel like our expo could do definitely a better job of it, like doing more display.
I try to bring at least something big, even if I have it in the back. Like I'll bring, like I have in the past, I've brought some holdback Sanzinias just to show. I've brought some Dominican Reds just to show, and then I've brought like some big MBKs too. Because if somebody's looking at a baby MBK and it's like, you want to see what they look like as an adult, break out a big one and let them hold it. And it's kind of a cool selling point in a way. Be like, okay, well, this is what they're going to be as adults, not just telling them, right? So I do try to do that with Arizona. Last time it was such a long drive for me, and I didn't have a whole bunch of room. And then your room at the table is limited too, right? So if you're going to bring a bigger animal, you've got to have a display that's going to at least show it off a little bit. And it's kind of like wasted space as far as you're not going to be able to sell that, right? And you want to make as much available at your table as possible. But I got 2 tables this year at this coming up show for Mesa, so I'm gonna bring something and bring some type of enclosure to show something. But I don't know. I've got a few that like it's kind of scary bringing them, because you're in a hotel at night, or you could leave it at the show. And like a couple of my Dominican holdbacks and the Sanzinia, I feel like it's a little bit of a risk every time you take the thing. Someone could steal it, or it could just run into issues, could escape. I mean, all these things are. I feel like some of these animals are like one of a kind. Especially some of my Dominican Reds that we've held on to. We've produced a couple that are like super special, and I'm totally attached to them. So it would be like a major, major loss if I happen to lose one. So bringing one all the way out there to Phoenix is kind of like I'm gonna be on edge a little bit, but it'd probably be worth it just to show people because like you were saying, with some people just don't even know that thing exists. If they see one of my adult Dominican Reds, they might be like, "What is that?" Like 90% of the people, the chances are pretty good that they probably have never even seen one in real life. So it's good. It's good to expose people to things they haven't seen before. And like I said, it's not a ball python, so gotta show the love to all the species around.
Absolutely. Concur 100%. So let's talk about the next season coming up, right? Let's get fast forward to April outside of the expo. What else? Let's talk about herping. What do you got going on as far as like your herp season goes? Are you after anything? Do you have a target species?
Not really, honestly. I never really do have a specific target. For me, I don't have a whole lot of time. Like the kids, the job, the animals here, and everything. So luckily, I'm in South Orange County, and there's a fair amount of open space around here, and I can head east on the 74 Ortega Highway and really cover a huge amount of habitat relatively quickly. Where I can go from like right here on the coast where I'm at, as far as the rattlesnakes go, it's all Southern Pacifics. Um, Cow Kings, gopher snakes. Um, there's some two-stripe garters around, like right. I'm talking about like right within like a half mile of me. Like I can ride my e-bike to the end of the trail and just go hiking and find these things. And then if I head east a little bit, I can get into more specks on the rattlesnake front, red diamondbacks, different phases of cow kings out there. There's a chance at a zonata out there as well. Some rosy boas within a half hour, 45 minutes of me. And then if I have more time, then I can head up to the high desert and have a chance at seeing some Mojave rattlesnakes, different ground snakes, and Sonoran gophers or Great Basin gophers up there. So, and Rosie's. So I mean, I have some herping videos up on my YouTube deal. I'm just happy to be out there, honestly. If I find something cool, if I'm just walking through the desert, that's fine too, honestly. And I enjoy all of it, from the bugs to the lizards to the snakes. I mean, any find is this. If I find some scorpions or whatever, I mean, I'm just happy to be out there, looking. So I don't really have a target species when I go typically, unless it's like I'm on high elevation looking for Z's or rubber boas or something like that, which there's some of that too up in Big Bear, San Bernardino Mountains area. There's some of that to be had, and there's not a whole lot else up there as far as variety goes. So you kind of got to commit to finding that specific species. But most of the time when I'm herping, I'm either off Ortega Highway somewhere or high desert, Victorville area, Barstow, Hinckley, I like that area too.
Respect. So,
but I need to get out to Arizona also.
Yeah, definitely do, man. I'm telling you, call me when you're out here and we'll go.
Yeah. I need to get out there for sure.
What do you want to find when you're out here? I mean, is there a target species in mind for Arizona, seeing you've never been here? Or
well anything.
I don't know.
Yeah, anything I haven't seen before. I have not seen a tiger rattlesnake. Gila monsters. That probably Gila monster would be my big one. I had actually Mexican beaded lizards for a good while. I just sold my group last year, but yeah, Heloderma is they're great, and I would love to see one in the wild. So I would say for me that would be my big target for Arizona. And I think you said earlier Tucson is kind of the mecca of Gila monster herping, or I'm sure I know they have a bigger range than that, but yeah, that would be my target for out there for sure.
Respect.
And some of the different rattlesnakes too. I'd love to see a black rattlesnake, of course. And I like Crotalus in general. I'm a big rattlesnake guy. I don't keep any. I used to keep them as a kid until my mom would hear them and make me let them go. But yeah, I do enjoy finding and interacting with rattlesnakes in the wild, and leaving them in the wild, of course. Now I probably haven't taken a snake out of the wild in 25 years, but I certainly enjoy interacting with them out there.
Respect. No, we can. Yeah, I mean, Tucson's a mecca for a lot of things, man. Like I was saying backstage, Tucson's so underrated. A lot of the keepers out there aren't like mainstream. Like I was saying, like a lot of the mainstream guys are in the metropolitan area, and then Tucson's kind of like that low key environment. Mm-hmm. They keep to themselves and really don't get too out there. And there's some incredible stuff out there in the wild and in captivity.
Yeah,
the expo's
my dad
pretty
actually
big.
went to college there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Tucson, and so I have like some history there. I think actually I'm gonna have to double check on that, but I think my mom and dad actually met in Tucson. So yeah, my dad grew up there. He was born in Detroit, moved to Tucson when he was like 10, and I think he was probably my original herping buddy. As a kid, he was like the guy in our neighborhood that would like pull the snakes out of people's garage, because our house was kind of on a hill, and right behind us, when I was a kid, it was actually a freaking cow farm, but it backed up to some wilderness, so there was oftentimes racers and rattlesnakes and gopher snakes and stuff in people's backyards, and he was like the neighborhood guy to call. So I would go with him and be like, wow, that's really cool. And then he would tell me about herping stories in Tucson and stuff. So yeah, I need to get back there, get back to my roots a little bit in Tucson, maybe spend a couple days out there or more if I had the time.
That'd be badass, man.
Yeah.
I haven't been herping in Tucson yet myself, so I just know a lot of guys that go out there.
Yeah, well, you hit the pavement, dude, and find some good spots for us to come when I come out there. We'll go check out some new spots or old spots. It's always nice to have some proven ones, but it's also nice to get out and explore some area that you've never been to before.
Yeah, definitely. I got a couple of guys out here that would be interested in going to that are avid herpers. I mean, I go out with I don't know if you met him at this expo or he was at Pomona, Rodriguez Reptiles.
No.
If not, I'll make sure y'all link up when you're out here in April. Good friend, good avid herper of mine.
Right on.
We go out every summer, or we're going out every summer from here forward. We went out last year, and I mean, he's fucking, oh man, second to none. One of the best experiences I've ever had was going out with him.
Nice. There's a guy named I think Trent Adamson. He's in Tucson, right? He was
Yeah.
at the Pomona show and he was at the Arizona show. He had just got back from like Borneo. We talked for a little bit at the Phoenix show. But yeah, his photography is amazing on Instagram. I love his photography. And it was inspiring just to like see his page. I'm actually relatively new to social media in the last like 4 or 5 years. But seeing his photography, and he definitely knows his stuff on the herping front too. He seems like he travels a ton, and then he's probably got Arizona as wired as can be as well. But his photography is really amazing. He finds a lot of cool stuff and presents it well on his page. So I'd like to go out with him as well. He always tells me when I see him at these shows, "Oh man, let me know if you're going to come to Arizona sometime." So I just need to get out there and take a week off from life here and go do it. But easier said than done, man. As you guys know, with kids and everything else, there's always something pulling you back.
You got to get the kids involved, man. Like that was really like my big thing. If you scroll my Instagram at some point, I got like a picture of them both the kids holding a long nose. Are they popular? As popular out there as they are out here? The freaking long nose snake?
Not really. No, I don't see too many of them. As far as like fossorial stuff, I think a lot of glossies at night and spotted leaf nose snakes, some ground snakes and stuff. Yeah, we found a lot of those. And my kids are sort of into it. It's sort of one of those things. I think it was given to them maybe too easily. I don't know. Like when I was a kid, I was just so into reptiles, and anything that had to do with them, I had to fight for. My parents thought I was crazy, so I had to really fight for it. So then, actually, once going back to when I met Chuck, they're like, "Okay, well, here's a really cool, nice man that is also really responsible, and he's into this. So maybe my kid's not that crazy after all." So that kind of I had a little bit more of my parents' support after that. But before, it's like, why do you have a snake in the house? Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but my kids, they kind of grew up with all these animals around, and they're into it. Like they'll go herping with me, but they're like just as excited to go see a waterfall as they are to find a snake. I'm like the one that's like so excited when we find something. So it's the same way with music. I'm a drummer, and I was always like, oh man, I'm gonna teach my kids from a really young age to play drums, and they're gonna be like way better than I've ever been. But it was like too easy because when I was a kid, it was like I was so into music, and my parents never had to push me to that. It was just like a natural inclination. But I felt like if I was pushed to do it, which I was pushed to play piano as a kid, I freaking hated it. I hated piano because I was forced to do it. I'm like, no, I'm going to play drums, and since it was my own thing. So my kids are like that. It's like, no, you have to love these animals. You have to go herping with me. I don't ever want to do that to them. It's just not their passion yet. Hopefully, hopefully they find their passion in life, whatever it happens to be, but they're not as into the animals as Dad is. So that's okay.
And my kids want like the most expensive reptiles though. Like for leopard gecko, they got the black knight. My son wants a black knight.
Well, those are cool. I like those.
I mean, yeah, they're cool, but
Chris, get your kid a black knight. What are you even doing, bro?
Oh my god, bro! Well, give me the money, bro.
Yeah.
Not for a damn lizard. I'll buy him a cool snake.
Yeah. Yeah, snakes and lizards. We have some lizards too, just as pets, and they're different, man. They look back. At least our rhino iguana, when he looks at you, he's like, looks you right in the eye. Whereas snakes just don't do that. So I see the appeal for sure. But
that's awesome.
We just have them as pets. We have some bearded dragons and a Eurymastix and a rhino iguana. I think that's all we got for lizards. Yeah.
Thanks for rubbing it in, Adler. Thanks for rubbing it in.
I was gonna say be cool like Adler, bro. All right, I gotta pee real quick. Chris, why don't you take the floor? Let's talk about U.S. art.
All right. What's your take on U.S. art?
Well, as far as I can tell, it's very necessary. I support them. I'm a member, and every show we donate something. We usually go to the auctions. In fact, that auction in Mesa was super fun. That got pretty heated. Not heated, but it was just a lively bunch of folks. So I think we were able to raise a lot of money at that show. And it's pretty crazy to see how, I mean, we're not going to get political here, but it's it's interesting that a very small group of people want to push an agenda to shut down so many things in our hobby and other hobbies like it, with birds, mammals, etc. Um, and they are able to get the attention of lawmakers. So USARK is important. It's something, I'm certainly not one to go out and fight this stuff myself, but it's great that we have people that are united and they know how laws work and they know how to fight against them. So yeah, I would say I support them at every turn and hope we can like put an end to the insanity. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many laws in place that are well placed and should be followed, and then there's just like other just crap out there. Like, why is someone pushing this? And second, why is it gaining traction? Like, who how many people really feel like we shouldn't be able to go around and display our animals, or keep certain animals? And like I said, there's some, of course, like invasive species and such. And I'm in California, which is like the freaking lawmaker
Yeah.
capital of the world. I mean, we can't hardly keep anything out here. I mean, we can, but you know what I'm saying? They got a lot of crazy laws here. So as far as I can tell, it's important that we're all united on that front to kind of fight the powers that be, and yeah, just like mediate
I
the freaking
honestly like.
insanity.
Yeah, I honestly don't know why like they're trying to shut us down. But like you said, I'm glad that we do have the U.S. Ark and we have U.S. Ark Florida because I think they're two different.
hmm
And
Florida's kind of its own animal out there because it's the habitat is such that all these invasive species do have a chance to take hold and cause real issues. The rest of the United States is not not so much like that. Certainly not here in California. But anyway, I just went to Florida last year for spring break. The first time I've been to Florida in forever, and it was awesome. I loved it, loved it, loved it. But that's
yeah,
on
I hear
you.
Florida's nice, but I mean, man, they're fighting a fight right now.
They are, dude. They are. So yeah, we went for spring break, and we took the kids to this. It was like Close Encounters Animal Farm or something like that. I'd have to find it again, but it was rad. We had it was like a private residence with it was all mammals, no reptiles, but it was still really cool. Lemurs and kangaroos and what else? Porcupine. I don't know. All the stuff you basically cannot have in California and probably a lot of states, but it was cool. It was a really cool interaction they had, just to hanging out with. I think the lemurs was probably the coolest part for me. They had a sloth. I mean, it was bitching. It was bitching. My kids were way into that, seeing some mammals. But yeah, you can't have anything in California. I mean, I'm lucky to be able to have chickens and a bunny here and dogs. But luckily, they have left the reptiles alone for the most part. We haven't had any crazy legislature try to get pushed through to limit what we can keep here as far as reptiles go, for the most part that I know of anyway. Either that or I just don't abide by it, but I don't know. But we're pretty lucky here so far, but we're unlucky in other ways. So
Man, when y'all talk about herping and stuff, I get jokes because I can't herp here in San Antonio. I'm like in the city, so nothing but city.
well, bro, you got a car.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
you get a car, bro,
but
and
we
you
don't
can
have we
move
really
to
don't have
Arizona.
work. Everything is like, yeah. Well, where I'm at, so it's a lot of city, a lot of city.
Just move
lot
to
of city.
Arizona.
See, when I think of Texas, I think of all sorts of cool herping out there, but I don't know. I know Texas is so big that I don't know how far you are from like some good habitat. Some Alterna or something. I mean, there's got to. I don't know how far.
Well, Lubbock's like 5 hours away from me.
Right.
They have some good stuff out there. But yeah,
So is San Antonio relatively flat? Is that like the flat, just like grassland part of Texas,
uh,
or is it just all city around you, so it doesn't matter what what the natural habitat used to be?
I mean, I guess it's a in between. It's both.
Like this guy said, if you really want to herp, you will make it happen.
Yeah, Chris.
So no excuses.
I'm gonna
Check
go
his
lay
ass
out.
out.
Okay, I'm gonna go lay outside and see what crawls on me. Okay.
That's not what herping is, man. You got to get out there and find it.
Play outside and see what crawls on. Ugh. If it's a city, man, it might be a hooker. You never know.
Yeah, what kind of city you live in, man? What part of the city you live in?
Damn, bro. Close to downtown, really. Actually, the downtown area was where like the animal and all our stuff is at.
All right, I'm pulling up Google Earth, and I'm gonna find some open area around you somewhere within a half hour, and there's gonna be some critters out there for sure to find. It might not be anything crazy, but
I was gonna say, bro, like
Yeah,
Phoenix is a concrete jungle, and there's snakes found out there all the freaking time. Like,
Yeah.
jump on Facebook, join, follow Rattlesnake Solutions, and you will see the massive amount of wild snakes that are caught inside the city. You just got to find like parks and regional areas, little micro habitats for them to hang out.
Okay. Yeah, but we got park. Our park's closed early though here, which sucks. So it's not like I can wait out there till it gets dark and then go herping. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, what are you hunting? Or not hunting, but what are you looking for? I mean, anyway, so I guess Chad can help me out here. What are you looking for? What is your target species? What time of the day do you need to go out? Because if you're looking for something that's nocturnal, then yeah, you got to go out at night. If you're looking for something that's diurnal, it's going to be out during the day. It's going to be basking. If it's too warm,
the only thing
that's when
we
you start
have
flipping
here,
rocks.
like the only thing we have here during the day are lizards.
you're herping. You finding lizards? That's great.
like they're like
Like
little.
I said, you can't be too choosy out there. You just got to be happy to see some stuff.
And a lot of spiders. I hate spiders, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, spiders terrify me. Except for jumping spiders, but yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cute. The
It's
wife
close.
does not let me have any
Further.
tarantulas. She's not into it. I could keep some for sure. I've had them before, and we find quite a few. We've got some cool ones right here along the coast here, and then out in the desert, get the blondes and stuff. But look at
Right
that.
there, Chris.
Look at
Allison
that.
Creek.
There's
I bet you
definitely some
$20
herps
you
in that
go. I was gonna say you walk up and down that, you gonna find something.
Probably. Depends on how the grass is there.
Grass, no grass, desert, you're gonna find something, bro. How bad you want it, Doug? That's what you got to ask yourself when you go herping: is how far, how long, and what am I willing to put into this to find something? Days you're gonna walk 10 miles, you ain't gonna find shit. There's days you're gonna walk 10 feet and you're gonna run into 10 of them. It's just how it is.
Look, my daughter's laughing at me.
So Chad, what is the coolest thing that you found herping? What is like the top of the top of the top as far as like your found in the wild goes?
Oh, wow. There's not one particular that stands out to me. I mean, I would say, there's some rattlesnakes. Like, obviously, I love finding the rattlesnakes, but there's a huge variety in the specs around here. Even as you travel in the desert, they've got this huge range, right, from pretty close to the coast all the way up into the high desert. So just seeing different color phases of specs. Some of them are really, really peachy. Some of them are really, really granite. We found one last year. Probably my favorite spec that I found was in a place called Pioneer Town, which is high desert near Joshua Tree. Cool little town with some good hiking around there. And we came across, actually middle of the day, Heidi and I came across a really cool spec that just had really light peach and then had really dark accents on it. So it was just kind of like the best. It was almost like a lava speck with a lot of peach in anyway. So that was probably my favorite spec that I've seen. And that was one of the highlights for me, at least last year. And there's a huge variety on the Cal Kings as well along the coast here. You find some banded, some striped,
It's cool.
everything in between. But I wouldn't say there's a single. I'm gonna have to rack my brain a little bit on that. I'll circle back to that if something stands out, but nothing in particular that really stands out as like, I found an albino or something in the wild, which I think I'm going to eventually, but I haven't yet. But I'm like I said, I'm happy to find anything out in the wild. As far as snakes go, snakes are always the thing that as soon as you think you have their habits wired and you're going to be able to go out and find things consistently, you go out and you can't find anything. So it kind of keeps you guessing a little bit. Lizards are a little bit more. I enjoy seeing those too, but the snakes are always a treat to find. Always.
Bro, Bosa, because he lives in Florida.
What's that?
Boza lives in Florida. He said, I walk outside, I see African agamas, Cuban anoles, iguanas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Got aliens in the basement. Boza living the life.
It was fun. In Florida, in fact, my kids were super into it at that time. When we went to Florida for the spring break trip, we stayed at a hotel that had, of course, pond. We were near Orlando somewhere, ponds everywhere, and at night we'd go out on the golf course and see alligators in the wild, just cruising, frogs everywhere. We found some water snakes and stuff. So that was fun. It was really fun for me to go herping in a new place where I'm seeing stuff that I have not previously encountered in the wild. So I hadn't been to Florida since I was a little kid. So that was cool. That was cool. I want to go, I think Heidi and I always talk about traveling a lot more, when the kids are up and out of here. Want to get to Madagascar someday and, maybe down Panama or something like that. Just get out more and find more stuff. I'm happy to see anything that I haven't already seen. It's just like fishing, it's like I'm happy to catch any fish that I haven't caught before, regardless if it's this big or a trophy fish. So same thing with herping. Herping and fishing actually have a ton in common. One's my passion and one's my job, but they have a lot in common with regards to I was saying, one, you got it wired. One day it's like you think the patterns that are gonna be consistent, from day to day, and then like one day you're a hero, you caught so many, and then it's like, oh, I got this down, this is easy. The next day it's just like, nope, they're gone, can't catch them. Same thing with the herps. A lot of the time you think you got it wired, but you go out the next time or the next year at the same time of year, same conditions, same time of day, and you're not seeing it. So
no, that's exactly the struggle that we face.
So you got to enjoy being out there. That's what I tell my passengers when we're fishing. It's like you got to enjoy being on the ocean. Of course, we want to catch fish. Same thing with herping. You got to just enjoy being out in the wild, and anything else is a bonus, really.
Exactly.
And you're getting some exercise out there. Hiking around, climbing around.
Yeah, especially if you're avidly herping, and you're I don't know about you, but I've wound up in some pretty fucked up spots.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Crawl into a hole and you're like, all right, there's definitely the worst part is when there's nothing in there and you're cut up and scraped up from slipping around and guarantee there's gonna be something in there. No, there ain't nothing. And
that's the best part.
there's a trail right down the road from my house, and they had cut down a bunch of trees or they were knocked down. I don't remember which one, but there was an archway where all these trees had been knocked down, and it was looked like a little perfect den. And I was like, all right, cool. I told my son, I was like, I'm gonna crawl in there. If I yell I got bit, fucking it is what it is. Call for help. And they're the thorny the trees with the thorns on them. So I was crawling in there. I'm getting scraped up and cut up. I'm like, all right, tell myself there's gonna be something at the back of this. I don't know. It was 4 or 5 feet in. Got in there. There wasn't shit.
At least there wasn't an angry family of raccoons or something like that in there.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been really.
That would have been really.
That would have been cool.
Hell of a story.
We're pretty close to Joshua Tree out here. I'm about 2 hours from Joshua Tree, and that's an area with infinite hiding places for critters and people. But I mean, you can really get lost out there and find yourself deep in a cave, or it's amazing. We was just out there with my son and a couple of his buddies a few weeks ago. Too cold for any herps, but we just went out there to climb around, and yeah, man, it's amazing out there. anybody on here is within driving shot of that place. It's an amazing place. I mean, it seems like you could spend years hiking around out there and never see it all. But really, really cool spot to camp, climb, herp. A lot of chucks, a lot of chuckawallas out there, a lot of desert iguanas, rosy boas, rattlesnakes, assorted stuff.
Rosy boas is on my list. I have to find one in the wild.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a desert iguana, surprisingly. I hear they're all over the place out here.
Oh, really?
Y'all got some cool stuff out there. Rosy boa, like, I love that snake. That's a gorgeous snake.
Yeah.
Come to Arizona, come to California, bro. What are you doing? They got rubber boas out there too, man. The only 2 boas that are found in the States are found here and in California.
Yeah.
2 states where avid herpers. So bring your dumb ass out here.
They're not too far away from each other either, really. You could check off both in the same day if you really work at it. But rosy boas are awesome. That's something that Chuck had a lot of when I was a kid, and it was one of my first animals that I produced when I was. I think I produced my first litter of rosy boas in teenage years. I had it some Pioneer Town locality rosies, and we had some. I think I sold my last adult pair of rosies maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but we had quite a few over the years. I don't have any at the moment, but they're cool. Great snakes.
Respect. No, absolutely. I had a rosy boa for a while, and then I got suckered into a trade, and I kicked myself in the ass for that one.
There was a time when they were really hot.
Yeah, I feel like they're making a comeback too. We're definitely starting to see more and more of a trend in them, and now that some of the morphs are coming out and different localities of them and the variations, it's not just one color, one bland snake to some. I think it'll pick up again, like we were talking about. The diversity's picking up. Lots of species coming into the trade right now.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll come full circle, because there was a time when rosy boas were kind of it. I mean, before ball pythons, even everybody, at least here in California, rosy boas were a big deal, and the fishing game were all over it too. It was kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, of course, there's infinite variety of the same stripes, same striped snake, but infinite variety of color there. The coastal ones are that almost a unicolor. You can find some almost unicolor where you don't even see the stripes, the blue and reddish. And then you get out into the desert, the lines get a little bit more defined, and different localities are going to have. There's a couple finds of them in a few of my herping videos that we've found out there, and they're cool. They're awesome. I mean, seeing one in nature is always special for sure.
Absolutely. So Eden's Den, that's a California local guy. He keeps a rosy boa. I don't believe he has more than one, but
right on.
Definitely a person that got me like re-hyped up into it.
Yeah.
So speaking of the variety and the diversity coming into the hobby, I got a wrap-up question for you here. How do you feel about importing, exporting? Where do you feel the hobby's at with that in general? Importing new species, exporting.
Well, I don't think we export too many other than ball pythons, but maybe a little bit. As far as pulling snakes out of the wild, or are you just talking about bringing things in from other countries that like are more established in the hobby? Or are you talking about like snakes out of the wild?
Let's load it up a little bit. Let's go importing and wild caught, like local wild caught, I should say, like pulling them out of the wild.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. I pulled lots of snakes out of the wild when I was younger. As I said earlier, I probably haven't pulled a snake out of the wild other than we do a little bit of relocation stuff. So I pull some out of the wild, some people's backyards, when they get into a backyard and hike them out to an open space somewhere. But I don't pull anything out of the wild myself to keep. I think here in the States, it's probably not necessary. There's pretty well established. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say it's not necessary. I say here in California, as far as Cal Kings go, that would be like, or Zonata maybe. Someone could do it, someone could not. If you can get around the fishing game rules for our California Zonata, the Mountain Kings, good luck with that. I think you can only keep one or something like that. So trying to get a hold of a pair and actually produce them. I don't know what the regulations are on that, but I personally don't pull anything out of the wild. That's all I can say about it. There are people that do, and maybe they have a good reason for it, and that's fine. And it's just not something that I do. I like seeing I like keeping the wild snakes wild myself. But of course, I keep a lot of snakes in cages, so I don't really have. I can't sit on a pedestal and criticize somebody for taking something out of the wild because, I keep a lot of snakes that are still very wild animals. They're not like domesticated dogs or anything, relying on me. Um, as far as importing from other countries, there's a lot out there that is really cool stuff. It's nice to get some new things into the hobby. I think we've come a long way as far as acclimating snakes. Like, I remember not even that long ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when like just piles of snakes would come in from other countries and they're just in horrible condition. And I hated that. Everything from like vine snakes and red-tailed green rats. I produced some of those many years ago. Till I worked with a small group of those, and just seeing them come in so beat up, I hated to see it. But I think if it could be done a little bit more ethically, I don't know if that's even a possibility. But I don't know. It's a sticky situation for me. I like to see them come in and thrive.
Absolutely.
Which I feel like maybe some do, and I know a lot of them don't because they're just coming in. They throw them in a box, and a month later they arrive and they're dehydrated and they're underfed and heavily parasitized and all that stuff. But there's people that are really good at it and they are able to establish them. And of course, if we didn't do that at one time, then a lot of these species wouldn't be represented at all in the hobby. So again, I can't say we shouldn't do it. But at this point in time, there's a lot of variety established, already. So I would say for the average keeper, buying something captive bred is going to be your best bet. But of course, there's people that want something new that hasn't been established here yet, and you're going to have to get it out of the wild, whether it's here or abroad. So I don't know. For me, I don't have any imported stuff. I don't have anything. Everything I have is captive bred, personally.
Nice.
But I'm not against the other either. It's just for me, I feel like at this point we've pulled enough out of the wild to say that we've got a good variety of for people, for pets and keepers. There's a great variety of captive bred stuff available to us. So
respect. No, okay. I respect it. I appreciate it.
I'm not against bringing new things in either, because there's, I feel like about 2% of the species out there are actually represented in our hobby, maybe less. So there's a lot of really cool stuff out there that just people haven't even seen.
Yeah.
So
what did we just see last night? What was it? I just saw it. It was the first time I ever seen that thing. That tailspin, or was it?
A sailfin dragon?
Sailfin dragon, yeah.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah, those are pretty popular, man.
I was like, that was the first time I ever seen that. I was like, what the hell is that?
You don't see very many big ones, though. I mean, you see a few. They've been around for a while, for sure. And even when I worked at a pet shop, a reptile pet shop, when I was in high school, and we had a few. Like, they came in, like I said, just beat up, and they would never thrive. Every one of them was a death sentence, no matter who you sold it to. But there are people that have figured out how to keep them, and they're impressive. An adult sailfin dragon is a seriously impressive lizard.
It is. One of those. It's one of those iconic animals, honestly. Like, you think, like everyone just said last night, prehistoric.
Totally. Totally. It is.
You want to get back to the dinosaur days. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. It's a freaking dinosaur. It's one of those species, though, that doesn't acclimate as well. I feel like, at least because I was kind of interested in these years back, but the rhino iguanas or green iguanas, they acclimate to people or to captive situations a little better than sailfin dragon. I feel like when you see a sailfin dragon that doesn't have a freaking jacked up nose, they're just a little hyper. They're not as easy to keep, and they probably take a ton of space. And the number of people that are actually willing to put in that effort, probably pretty few and far between. So, and some snakes are like that too. Some snakes do great in captivity, and others just don't. For whatever reason. And I can relate it to fishing again, or at least my job, whale watching. It's like, bottlenose dolphins, you see them at SeaWorld all the time, and they do well. They form a human bond. They interact with people. They're stimulated. And I'm not gonna like say like we should keep them in a cage because I see them in the wild all the time, and that's great too. But other species of dolphin, like our short-beaked common dolphin that we see often here in California, they can't keep them in captivity. They've tried over the years, but they just don't do well in captivity. And it's the same thing with some of the reptiles. They're like, there's just some reptiles that probably they should stop taking them out of the wild because you know that when you take them out of the wild, they are not going to live. They're not going to live even close to a decent life with somebody because they're just too nervous. They're too whatever. So, some reptiles, yeah, they should stop importing. They should stop taking them out of the wild because they're just not fit for being acclimated to life in a cage, as to put it bluntly. And others will do great. I think sailfin dragons are one of the ones that really take a lot of work to maintain and to get from baby to adult in a practical setting. Probably not practical for most people versus some of the monitors and the iguanas and stuff.
I concur 100%. That's very well said.
Well, thank you. Hope I didn't offend anybody who's keeping sailfin dragons. It's like, man, I got tubs full of sailfin dragons. Those things are doing great. Well, fuck. Sorry, man. Maybe I'll buy one from you. No, I noticed even with my rhino iguana that I built this big outdoor enclosure for him, and he's pretty chill. He's just chill. He's done very well to captivity, right? And I do my best to interact with him and keep him outside as much as possible, get natural sunlight, let him cruise around the house, whatever. But if you have an animal that's just nervous and not doing well, and you're seeing that repeatedly with the same species, like, let's just stop keeping that species. Like, let's just let them be wild.
Yeah, amen. I think the dragon snake is one of those species, in my opinion. It's sought after, it's desired to keep it, but
right.
I can't say that I've seen enough success with it to feel comfortable.
Sure. Yeah, it's never going to be a mainstream snake for sure. I don't know if there's
sunbeam too.
Yeah, has there been any captive propagation of those dragon snakes? Has anybody been able to breed them or keep them long term? I don't know.
If anybody is aware of it, I'm unaware of it because I've read about it over and over again. I can't say I've seen documented success on breeding them.
Right.
It's not. I mean, all the reading I've done is breeding hasn't even really been discussed as much as it possibly could be because just keeping them alive is one of the most difficult things to do.
Totally.
Let alone getting them to thrive to breed.
Totally. Yeah, and then you like go to a reptile show and you see one like available, and again, it's it's kind of like that snake has a death sentence a little bit. I mean, if the average person, I'm sure there's some people that are going to commit to it and they're going to figure it out, and that's cool. But yeah, for sure, 95% of those things that come in are going to be dead within a year or less, possibly. That would be my guess on it. So yeah, it's kind of sad.
Isn't that the same thing with the sunbeam snake that Levi was talking about? Like, those don't last.
I've read a couple of people successfully breeding those. They're finicky, but they're not as difficult as a dragon. But they're definitely not one that's going to be mainstream ever. It's very hard to get them to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yeah, like they take them out of wildlife, and some die like a couple of days later or a week later. Depend.
Yeah, all these animals with super specialized environments, and the crocodile skinks are another one too. I think some people do get them to thrive, but my buddy that does a lot of import stuff and a lot of pet shop stuff. He won't even carry them anymore because he's like, man, they just don't thrive. So he just, it's sad for those things to be taken out of the wild when there's just not a chance of them really thriving, and so slow to reproduce. But there's this demand for them, right? They're adorable, they're cool looking. I mean, they're cool, and I think some people maybe get them to thrive. But anyway, yeah, that's my general take on import export. snakes out of the wild, if it's a species that can thrive, possibly reproduce, I don't have any problem with it. But the stuff that comes in that's just so beat up or comes from such a specialized environment that it's going to be damn near impossible to replicate, and trial and error have shown a lot of error and very little success. Yeah, I think that species should be left to somebody who wants to go find it in the wild and take a picture of it and appreciate it for that. But you know, that's it. Just because there's a demand for it, just because you can import them and sell them, probably doesn't mean you should. You know.
Amen.
Yep, agree. All right, Chad, ready for this question?
What are we doing?
I said, you ready for this question?
Yeah, shoot. What?
All right. So, if you could change one thing in this hobby/industry, whether it be the negativity, the housing, or anything, what would it be and why?
If I could change something in this hobby?
Yes, and or in this industry, yes, anything.
Well, that's interesting. You know, I hear people like talk about like, oh, there's this negativity and this guy said this, and I don't get a whole lot of that. I don't see a whole lot of that. I mean, I see some, but again, I think it's that like 2% of the population has a problem with something and they elevate it to make it look like a big problem, but really it's just a small fragment of people that are assholes. You're going to find that in any hobby, and you're going to find that in every political spectrum, or you're going to find it in every, pastime of whatever. There's always a couple loudmouth people. I don't think I'd really change anything, to be honest with you. It's not something you really can change, because the market is going to be a supply and demand. There's going to be the purists, and then there's going to be the people who are just in it for the money. And it's just got to work itself out naturally. I mean, I think the more people try to change it, the more you're going to have a backlash. So it's like the government getting involved in something. The more the government gets involved, the more there's just freaking mayhem. It's like it's got to be a free market, in order to work out over the long haul. So I don't think I'd really change anything. It's going to work itself out, and the people that want to be assholes are going to be assholes, and eventually they're just not going to have a microphone, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd change anything. It's just got to be less government influence, more people trying to be positive, trying to be supportive. But I feel like I have pretty positive interactions with people at shows and everywhere else. So I'd like to see less ball pythons. I mean, that's the only thing that I can say. I'd like to see a little bit more variety, and less, which we're gonna see. Like I said, it's got to work out naturally, right? I mean, for how many years did the ball python industry just build and build and build and build, and it just got amazing, and then not so amazing, and now that it's gonna correct itself naturally, because that's what happens when a market gets flooded. It's gonna correct itself, and that's the way any market works. So it's doing it on its own, so I don't have to change it myself. It's going to happen, and I saw it coming years ago. So not a whole lot I would change, I don't think.
Respect. That's the first time I think we've heard that. So, yes.
No, that was different.
Doing something right.
I hope. And I hope I don't irritate any ball python people. I love ball pythons. I got all kind of love for ball pythons and all that, but it's nice to see some variety. That's all I can say.
In all honesty, like, I do have a lot of ball pythons. Like, I have like 55. I mean, compared to the ones that have like 1,000 something, but yeah. I have like 55, and honestly, I actually want to get out of a ball python.
Well, you better hurry, because there's probably a lot of people in your position, and it's gonna get even more flooded here, in my opinion.
I'm thinking about going with what is it? What did I tell you, Levi? Viper boas.
Those are cool.
They're definitely they're up and coming, man.
So I'm thinking about going into that, and then hog noses for sure, because I don't know why, I just love hog noses, man. It's been my snake.
You got a cute face, dude. Admit it. They have cute little faces. That's why I love my hog noses. They have like quirky little personalities, and mine are all tricolors, so their nose isn't as pronounced as Westerns, but they've just got a funny little quirky personality and a cute face, so can't go wrong with a hognose.
Yep.
So if you want some tricolors, let me know. I've got some nice baby tricolors that are established.
Well,
Ready.
I got 2. They're extreme red and vinyl.
Oh,
My
those are white.
vinyl man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
West. Yeah. So the tricolors are a totally different species. They're from South America. They're lystrofish pulcher, not heterodon at all. They're not even related to heterodon. They're a completely different species, but they develop the same hog-looking nose. But yeah, they're a completely different species. They like it a little bit more damp, a little cooler. Look totally different too, but yeah, they're not related to heterodon.
It's so badass how you can find one in one country and one in the other when they're almost completely opposite of like the care and how they behave and lifespans, color patterns, color mutations.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. You know, one species actually I meant to mention as far as colubrids, the royal snakes. I'm not sure if you got, you know, like diadem rat snakes. Well, there's one that's a Spalarosophis atriceps, and we do have a pair of atriceps, which are another one that probably not a lot of people have seen or heard of, but they are really, really cool. You can check it out on like Google or whatever. Spalarosophis diadema atriceps, or just Spalarosophis atriceps, and their common name is like a royal snake or a red-headed royal snake or a black-headed royal snake. Anyway, really cool species. They're basically like a Far East version of Pituophis, like a bull snake or a gopher snake. They've got that slightly keeled scales. They hiss super loud. They put on this huge threat display. So they kind of fill that same part of the ecosystem over there, but they are badass. I got a pair of those. I'm really excited about those.
There's a thing about diadems that was spoken about, and I don't know, maybe you know more about it, that they're possibly rear fanged.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's something I don't know if anybody knows that about that species, whether they are or aren't, but a buddy of mine kept his and was it got him pretty good, like a hognose, and chewed on him, and he had a reaction to the bite, and we looked it up, and there's like a mixed review on it. So I don't know if somebody has like a solidified answer, whether they are or aren't, if it was just a bad, like maybe there was something in his, like a bacteria in the teeth or something.
Sure. I was gonna say it could just be a saliva-based, protein that either reacted to him specifically, or it's, a quote venom, which is just, specialized saliva anyway. But that's interesting. No, for sure. My little atriceps, they bit me a couple times, and I haven't had any. They haven't. Of course, they don't really grab on and chew or anything. But no, I haven't heard that. So that they're very closely related to that species. This species is here from India into Pakistan a little bit. Atriceps. They look actually super similar to diadems as babies, and then as they mature, their head turns black and they turn completely light brown with these black spatters. They look like they have melanoma or something. They've got this spattered black pattern like all over them, really dark blotches all over the snake, and their head is either black or like really, really deep red. You guys have to check them out. Yeah, really cool species. So I got my female from a guy named Adam Gee here in the States that works with them, and then I got my male. My buddy Adam Roth had a pair imported from Finland, I believe, and so I traded my male for his male. So now he's got one of Adam Gee's males, and I have this male from Finland. So I've got a completely unrelated pair, and I'm excited about him. Dude, my female is starting to get to that. Is starting to get through that change. She's losing her juvenile pattern, getting the dark black blotches, and her head's starting to turn. I've got a couple posted on my Instagram too, pictures of Adam Gee's.
One of the red-headed ones.
That's a Melendorfi. No, that's a thousand flower rat. That's a Melendorfi.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. God damn it.
You'll have to.
You said on your Insta, right?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram.
I don't know. That was a pretty snake. I want that too.
Yeah, no, those are cool. Those are cool. So look back to, well, there's one picture of a baby just starting to go through the OCC, but I've got a picture of Adams on here. Gotta find it. Oh, there we go, right there. It's where's the camera?
Oh wow.
Oh, holy
So
shit!
that's an adult, and then shite. So that's where my female was at. The picture is not the best. It almost just looks like a freaking corn snake or something. But then they get, they mature.
Whoa.
They look like
yeah.
And that's how they look when they're older.
This is
bigger?
when they're older. Yeah, and they get pretty big, like 6 feet long. They're just basically a big bull snake, a Far East bull snake.
Damn, that's gorgeous.
And they're probably the loudest hissers ever. I mean, they hiss like so loud. It's pretty cool. They put on like pretty good threat display. They mellow out too when you have them out of the cage for a minute, but yeah, they put on a really good threat display, and they are so loud. I mean, it make you go deaf almost. Yeah, it's really.
When are you expecting a clutch from them?
For
I mean,
real.
I've got several years. This this female I have is she's a 2021. Yeah, I have to look at my records, but yeah, she's a 2021. So she's just starting to go through that change, starting to get some black spots. And I've got a recent picture of her. I've probably got a recent video of her too, because she's such a loudmouth.
I want to hear this. I do.
Hold on. I'll find it, but it's worth it. I should really just, dude, I'm mental on my phone. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. I have to put up the mic.
Oh, dude.
That's her.
Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous too. Oh yeah, you can see the black spot.
Anyway, that came through kind of grainy, but anywho, you get the idea. It's a cool species, colubrid species that, I like the off the wall stuff. So it fit right in with the rest of our group, and she's done great. She eats like a champion. Pretty easy to keep, dry, warm. Fits right in. So hopefully she gets big and lays some eggs. Their eggs are super long. They only lay like 3 to 5 eggs at a time, but they're really elongated eggs. So it'll be interesting if I can get her to produce some babies.
That would be badass. I'm definitely gonna be following that.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one to bring to a show, especially as she gets older and develops into the the adult coloration. Bring her to a show. Really, people will be like, "What on earth is that?"
Yeah,
be perfect. Yeah, it'd be cool.
I was like, "What is that?" But it's gorgeous snake. It's beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. Yes.
Yeah. There's some cool pictures of them online. If you Google them, there's not a ton of information at all, but man, some of the pictures of some of them from the wild and just from collections around, there's so much variation. Some of them really have a ton of black spots. Some of them have very few, but they're badass.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a project I'll be following you on, and then potentially looking into. Man, that's sick.
Yeah, Adam Gee is the guy in the States here that has produced them somewhat consistently. He had one young female available on Morph Market a few months ago, but she probably sold. And she wasn't cheap.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they're going to be cost effective for a while.
I was gonna say they definitely don't look cheap.
What's that?
I was gonna say they definitely don't look cheap.
No.
Whatever.
But worth it.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to wrap this thing, Chad. It's been incredible. If you would like to do a part 2, hit me up. We'll set it up. If you are actually, let's line something up in April, man. Let's do like a collab. We'll drag Chris out here and do like a herping thing and make it explosive.
When I get out there?
Yeah,
that'd be sweet. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Happy about that.
But yeah, I gotta go get a couple of things done, and Chris looks like Chris. So
what the hell does that mean, bro?
You guys ready to fall asleep standing, dude?
It's been if I could talk today. It's been incredible. Thank you for doing our first morning podcast. It's been great, very informative. Thank you for bringing the knowledge. Like I said, I walked by your table, saw some heat, and it was like game over from there. Had have to have this guest on.
All right, I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys.
So on that note, we out.
All right. Later.
If you're not following Chad, go and give them a follow. Thank you to the sponsors again, Reptile Crew, CNB Reptiles. Love you guys as always. And on that, now we out, bro. Yeah.
Thank you again, Chad.
All right.
Thank you, Chad.